figures at the end of the hallways, at the end of the catwalks. It's very probable that if you go to those areas, you'll get some kind of connection.
Hey, guys, the red button on.
Yeah, Carl, if you want to come and talk to us, at the jail tonight, we're going to be there all night, so.
God! God!
Dude, something just moved my glasses on my head.
What is it?
Dave just got scratched. Are you okay, man?
Oh my god. You heard that, didn't you?
You're good at pushing people around, oppressing people. Push me. Push me down these steps.
We who live in prison, and in whose lives there is no event but sorrow, have to measure time by throbs of pain and the record of bitter moments. Oscar Wilde. Tonight we will try to rediscover those throbs of pain and bitter moments in Newark, Ohio, at the old Licking County Jail. This investigation will give us insight into whether horrible and traumatic events can carry their own energy, and whether the souls who were tormented by this sorrow are still tormented after death.
So, Terry, we are at the old Licking County Jail. When did this jail actually open?
It opened in 1889.
Specifically with this date, we're here on June the 12th.
Yes.
What is so special about that day in the history of the building?
Well, upon doing some review, I realized that this is actually the same date that they started construction on this jail. There was also a few other things that I'd come across to where there were 3 deaths documented on this date in different years throughout the jail.
That's really interesting that there is all of this history on this one day and all of these deaths on this one day.
Absolutely.
Who were these people that died, and where in the jail did they actually die, so we can try and contact them later?
Well, we had Earl Rowe Francis. He was one of the sheriffs here, and he actually died in the sheriff's living quarters in the back bedroom. They believe he might have died here. I've seen conflicting reports that he may have died on the way to the hospital, but it was on this date as well. We had Earl Johnson. He died of a prior self-inflicted gunshot wound, and that was on the first floor cell block. And then we had Martin Kelly, who slit his throat in the shower in the first floor cell block with a straight blade razor.
And those are specifically, the last 2 are quite violent deaths.
Absolutely.
Do you believe, or do people who investigate here believe that they may still reside here in the Licking County Jail?
Yeah, several do. Several seem to feel that they've made contact with them.
What type of activity is captured throughout the jail as a whole?
As a whole, it seems like there's a lot of shuffling of feet. We've heard growling a couple times in the dungeon. Shadow figures have been seen several different places within the jail. Disembodied voices, you hear them like crazy, especially who we believe is possibly Mae Varner. Just sad cries, it's really sad. Shrill screaming.
Now, who is Mae Varner?
Mae Varner was, I would say, a very troubled soul. She had tried to commit suicide by taking sleeping pills. She was not successful. They took her to the hospital and pumped her stomach and brought her back here, put her in the cell on the 4th floor cell block, and she ended up within 30 to 45 minutes setting herself on fire and dying in that cell. Upon doing a little bit further review, I realized she had been going through a divorce as well, and she actually killed herself on her husband's birthday.
That is just absolutely terrible. I mean,
It is. It's so sad.
And for her to be that afflicted to the point where she actually was willing to go that far to set herself on fire.
Right.
Do people believe that she's still troubled even after death?
Absolutely. We've had different groups have captured, moaning sounds, crying. She almost sounds a little batty, I'm sure she wasn't all there. I mean, can't imagine setting myself on fire. It has to be the worst way to die.
Right.
And yeah, there's a lot of people that believe that and believe that they've heard her.
Wow. Now, besides Mae Varner and the 3 that we've already discussed, how many other deaths are believed to have happened at the jail here?
Well, there were 14 documented deaths that we know of, and 3 of those, 3 on top of that, are sheriffs. And one of them, the last one, the Earl Rowe Francis, we're not positive if he died here or not, but all 3 sheriffs died of heart condition in the same room.
We've found that this jail has witnessed the deaths of both inmates and sheriffs. This means that their spirits could be trapped in this building together. But one question still remains. Exactly how many people have lost their lives at the old Licking County Jail?
Have you ever had any suspicions that maybe there were more deaths in the old Licking County Jail than actually you have found on document?
One has to wonder, that's a lot of years. It was 1889 to 1987. So hopefully we can find out some more information.
What were the conditions like at the Licking County Jail for the inmates?
I don't think they were very good. The men's cell blocks, the cells are only 8 by 8, and there might have been as many as 5 or 6 inmates in each cell.
Wow, that's terrible.
Right, and when this jail opened, there was no running water, so they would have had to use slop buckets and take them out of the back of the jail and dump them and burn them. So, that would have been terrible. They were locked in their cells. They, in the early years, they weren't allowed to come out of their cells and get any exercise. So it would have been hard. It would have been real hard.
How were the floors actually separated when it came to the gender of the inmates?
Well, their first, second, and third cell blocks were all for men. And the top floor, the 4th floor cell block, was women and juveniles.
Oh, wow, they actually held juveniles
They
here.
did, yes.
What is this cell right here? It's a little bit bigger than the cells that you see upstairs.
Well, this is called the drunk tank. So they would have brought the inmates into booking or intake area and then put them over here until either if they were in here for intoxication until they dried out and they could release them, or until they had a cell ready for them. And we did have, there was a Kenny Malcolm that was one of the inmates down here that we seem to, different groups have connected with him as well. And he died of a cerebral brain hemorrhage down here.
In this cell?
In this cell.
Wow.
There were also 2 inmates that died of intoxication down here in the dungeon, possibly the drunk tank as well.
Now, how were when these inmates misbehaved within the facility, how were they punished?
Well, there's an area back in the back corner of this dungeon called solitary confinement, and they would have put them in solitary until, they could straighten them out or whatever needed to be done. I also did a little bit of reading and realized that somewhere in here, and we're not sure where, there was a padded cell.
All of Terry's stories regarding the rough conditions of the jail and the abusive treatment of the inmates starts to make us wonder. Have employees of the jail, visitors, and other investigators experienced paranormal activity in this empty building?
You may pick up some EVPs. Just simply being quiet in the cells, you'll be shocked at what you'll hear. I myself, I've heard shuffling of feet, boot steps. It sounded like someone was scooting. I've seen shadow figures at the end of the hallways, at the end of the catwalks. It's very probable that if you go to those areas, you'll get some kind of connection.
Wow. Now, you mentioned they are more susceptible to talk through EVPs on your digital recorders. Have you personally captured EVPs, and what have you captured?
Yeah, our team, Project Paranormal Research Society, has captured several different things. We had a team member of mine, Ted, had a digital recorder in the 3rd floor cell block shower, and he captured a terrible scream of a man. And we also got a whistle in the matron's quarters. Just very strange things.
All of these unexplained claims of activity could be linked to the unfortunate souls who lost their lives in this jail. But the old Licking County Jail has a story of a much more notorious death. A death that put Newark, Ohio, in the national spotlight.
What would you say would be the most prolific death to ever take place in or around the Licking County Jail?
Oh, that would have to be Karl Etherington. Karl Etherington was a dry agent detective. He was sworn in Granville, Ohio, as a deputy marshal to close down some of the bars and brothels in this town. They called this place Little Chicago. Very rough town. The mob was active here. When they swore him in, he was to be sent to this town because we were a dry county during Prohibition times. It was July 8th, 1910. And he went to the Last Chance Saloon where there was a William Howard, which was an ex-police chief, tried to shut his bar down, and they had gotten into a scuffle, and Howard was trying to beat him, and out of self-defense, Karl Etherington shot him, and he later died. Well, that really upset the townsfolk and the mob because they didn't want this to be a dry county. And they brought Karl here for safekeeping, although the jail registers say that he was here booked for murder. They ended up forming a mob of about 5,000 people outside the north side of this jail, using a battering ram and busting into the jail, onto the second floor, and almost beating, if not beating, Karl Etherington to death in his cell. They then drug him out to the southeast corner of the square and lynched him in front of all of those people, women and children included. And when his father came here to claim his body, they realized that Karl had lied about his age. He had ran away from home, joined the Marines, was a Marine for a few years. Then when he was actually, I guess, signed in as a deputy marshal in the city of Granville, they realized he was only 17 years old.
Wow. And he was just a kid.
He was a kid. It's so sad. And you can hear your own voice echo throughout this building. I can't imagine a giant mob of 5,000 people out there, and they're coming for you.
Well, that leaves behind a lot of energy too. I couldn't imagine the energy that's trapped behind just from that one event. And that doesn't include the many other events that took place here where the energy is then trapped inside this building, inside these stone walls, and ready to replay itself. But I think all of us with Paranormal Quest are very interested in Karl's story. Now, do you know exactly where he was lynched and where he was hanged from?
Yes, I do, on the southeast corner of the square.
Outside?
In our downtown. It's actually in our downtown courthouse area.
Okay. Now, could we go down there and take a look at it?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so we're all out here walking down to actually where Karl Etherington was actually lynched out here. And Terry's going to walk us over and show us where this happened and where Karl actually died.
Yep, let's go.
So Terry, is this the corner where they killed Karl?
It is. This is where the telegraph pole was. I wish it was still here, but I've understood that people kept trying to scrape pieces off of it and things like that, and they ended up taking it down for that reason.
Right. Now walk us through what happened whenever they pulled him out of the jail. Did they bring him immediately over here?
They did. They brought him out the north door of the jail, drug him up here. I'm not sure exactly what path. Drug him up here and lynched him from the pole in front of the 5,000 members of the mob and women, children, men.
Wow.
Terrible.
So if we were to go back to that day, we would have a pole right here, and we would be basically looking at a 17-year-old Karl Etherington hanging from that pole.
Correct.
Wow, that's just
so sad.
Yeah, it's sad and it's heartbreaking to think about, but
they said that some of his last words were, "Please tell my mother that I died in the performance of my duties."
wow,
That is so sad.
that is terrible.
As we stand where this telephone pole used to be and imagine how horrible the last moments of Karl's life were, Steve suggests that we pay tribute to Karl's memory by leaving him some pennies and quarters on this corner in his honor. This tradition symbolizes the respect that is paid to a fallen soldier who died in the line of duty. Everyone who knew Karl is long gone, but we wanted to let him know that he is still thought of and appreciated.
Thinking of you, Karl. Sad.
Yeah, it's sad. And it's heartbreaking to think about, but
They said that some of his last words were, "Please tell my mother that I died in the performance of my duties."
wow, that's just
So sad.
We'll be at the jail tonight.
Yeah, Carl, if you want to
in.
come and talk to us, at the jail tonight, we're going to be there all night, so you're more than welcome to come and have a conversation with us, and we'll be happy to talk to you.
Locations like the old Licking County Jail are saturated in violent history. We're hoping that if any of the tortured souls remain behind the bars of this fortress, that they'll communicate with us tonight. We're ready to throw every technique of investigation in our arsenal into the mix tonight, starting with our abandonment tactic. We will set up all of our cameras and equipment throughout this building and leave the premises to see what kind of paranormal activity occurs. We'll be focusing this abandonment session on 3 different parts of this jail. Our first camera will be set up in the dungeon, where the solitary confinement cell used to be, pointing out toward the drunk tank, an area that was the location of 3 documented deaths. The second camera will be set up on the 4th floor Cellblock, where the women and juveniles were housed. It was also the location of one of the jail's most violent suicides.
And she ended up within 30 to 45 minutes setting herself on fire and dying in that cell.
The third camera will be set up on the 1st floor Cellblock, pointing towards the shower. This is where Martin Kelly committed suicide by cutting his throat with a straight blade razor. Martin committed suicide on June the 12th, the same day of the year that we're here to investigate. We set up the REM pod in front of the shower to see if Martin Kelly's energy would trigger the proximity sensor, and sure enough, before we could even exit the building, strange happenings began to occur, forcing us to come back to this area.
Hey, guys, the red button on.
All right, it's going off.
What? He's here.
Get up here, guys. This is the shower stall. What was that?
Something just hit this doorway right here.
I heard that, but I don't know what it was.
That door's closed. It just went off.
Martin?
Come on, Martin, buddy, is that you? That's it, man.
I got chills.
Yeah, man.
I have goosebumps everywhere. Do you
Yeah.
want me to hit the breakers or not yet?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kill him. Gotcha.
It seemed as though the energy came on suddenly and then subsided as quickly as it appeared. As Terry kills the lights throughout the building to start the abandonment session, we can't help but wonder, did Martin Kelly's energy build up and trigger the REM pod because this is the anniversary of his death?
Licking County Jail does not disappoint.
All right, it's still rolling. Everything's going on.
To start, we'll review the strange happenings from the dungeon. Just a few minutes after we left the jail and locked the door behind us, the camera's audio picked up what sounds like movement just a few feet away from the camera. Then, about 15 minutes after that, the microphone on our camera picked up what sounds like a loud thud coming from the floor above. On the first floor, we had the camera facing the shower where Martin Kelly committed suicide. If you listen closely, it sounds like our digital recorder picked up a faint dragging sound. The same digital recorder picked up what appears to be banging and movement at various moments in the recording. The activity kept intensifying, as we also captured what sounds like a door moving with a squeaky hinge. But the best capture from this abandonment session was an EVP that sounds like a male voice speaking to us. Could this be Martin Kelly, or is it one of the other inmates who lost their lives in this jail trying to get our attention? Sadly, our camera from the 4th floor cell block experienced a file capturing error and only recorded for 4 minutes after we left, until it canceled the video capture and shut off. We thoroughly believe that if this camera would have continued to record, it would have captured something unexplained. But after this error, we'll never know. All we can do is move on with our investigation. We've only just completed this abandonment session, and we can already tell that Terry was right about the activity at this jail.
You know, you may pick up some EVPs. Just simply being quiet in the cells, you'll be shocked at what you'll hear.
If this building really is a goldmine for audio evidence, we're going to seek that out on this investigation. To start, we'll tackle the 1st floor together as a team to see if the men who died in this cell block have a message for the world to hear.
Putting the REM pod down. You see the REM pod? Okay. Sweet deal. Did you just touch me in the back?
No.
I swear to God, something just touched me right in between the shoulder blades.
No, bro. I'm holding a radio standing with my arms crossed.
I swear to you, something just put pressure right here in the center of my back in between my shoulder blades. That was really creepy. I thought you were messing with me. You alright, Steve?
Yeah, I was just readjusting the monopod.
Oh, okay. Is there anybody on this first tier that wants to get out of here?
Martin, are you here?
Martin Kelly. We're going to need to have a conversation with you. Now, Martin, over there by Steve is the showers. Can you tell us what you did in the shower? Can you tell us why you did what you did?
Jeez, that was Ryan walking, right?
Yeah, sorry, that was me walking.
Okay.
Now there's a device over here in Jason's hand. That if you talk to that, we'll be able to hear you later on. So Martin, if you could please walk up and talk over there to the thing that Jason's holding in his hand. And tell us why you did what you did. Tell us why you committed suicide. Can you show us which cell was yours?
This first session hasn't proven to be very successful because of the confined echoey space. Having all 4 of us in this same area is causing too much evidence contamination, so we decide to use a different form of communication, the PSB-11 spirit box. This device has 2 radios that scan through frequencies simultaneously at a very fast pace to create a white noise base that is believed to be able to carry the voices of spirits. We're hoping that if Martin Kelly or any of the other inmates are here, that we'll be able to hear their voice.
Can you tell us why this shower is so important? What was that, Martin? If that was you that I heard, could you tell me again why this shower is so important?
You couldn't make it out.
After hearing a few unidentifiable voices come through the spirit box, we finally capture one that we can decipher. It sounds like a male voice says, "I ran." Is this spirit telling us what they did moments before they met their violent end?
Where are you from, Martin? Where's home?
Right as soon as you talked, there was a male voice that came through.
To here?
Nothing here, I think. What happened here?
This voice could be very profound. We're standing right where Martin Kelly died, and I ask,
What happened here?
Then a voice answers me over the spirit box, saying, could we be in direct communication with Martin Kelly?
What if I went inside? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard something. I couldn't make it out where I'm from.
I couldn't either.
You had to be a little bit clearer, Martin. As clear as you can be.
I'm in the shower. Can you tell us what happened in here, Martin? Please tell your story.
It appears Martin is annoyed with these questions, because after I ask him to tell his story, he tells me to shut up. Take another listen and hear for yourself.
Anything, Jason?
Nothing.
The thing's going off here.
Is it?
It was just for a second.
Were you standing in that doorway?
It's weird. Let me try something here.
Something did it. That one down there. Look at the other hallway down here.
Did you just touch me? You did.
Where did you feel the touch?
My elbow.
No, I did not. I swear to you.
With the spirit box session over and the activity still present, we decide that we need to split up to cover more parts of this old jail. Steve and I will start downstairs in the drunk tank and progressively make our way through the cell blocks, while Dave and Jason will be on the opposite end of the building in the administration area. They will make their way up to the sheriff's living quarters, where 3 of this institution's sheriffs died of heart attacks.
But all 3 sheriffs died of heart condition in the same room.
So will the spirits trapped within this jail speak to us when we're separated?
Okay, so now Dave and I are going to head up to the second floor, second and third floors, here to the living quarters, former living quarters for the sheriff and the matrons and their families. So this would have been the floor as well, where 3 of the sheriffs had passed away.
In that room right behind you there.
Right over here, back in this area. If there's anyone up here with us, my name is Jason, this is my friend Dave. We come here with the utmost respect. We'd like to learn more about your life here, and we'd like to have a chance to be able to meet you, communicate with you. Is there any way you could give us a sound of your presence, please? Got a little noise over here in this room.
Dave and Jason have only just arrived here on the second floor of the administrative section of the building, and they've already gotten a responsive knock.
Is there any way you could give us a sound of your presence, please?
I need everyone to go to bed. I need you to lay down on the bunks over there and go to sleep. You gotta sleep off that drink.
Who around here knows where it's a good place to get some moonshine? We don't want any store crap. We want moonshine. We want the good stuff. White lightning.
Quiet up here.
Yeah, it is. You want to try the floor above us?
Sure.
Okay. Let me see.
I just heard something in here. Is there somebody in here with us?
How many deaths were down here in the drunk tank? Can you give us a number?
Whoa. What happened?
Just heard something over here. Something like grit or something on the floor move. Over where this folding chair is. Is someone sitting over here in the chair?
Did you say something?
I heard that.
Okay. We'll mark that.
But it was right next to me.
Right after Steve asks if someone is sitting in the chair that he heard the shuffling noise come from, Steve and I both hear the distant sound of a man's voice that sounds as if it is coming from the other half of the dungeon to Steve's left. You can faintly hear the sound of this voice on his camera's audio. Take a listen.
Is someone sitting over here in the chair? This door up here earlier?
No.
Not at the top of the stairs, but the far bedroom.
I'm not sure. I'd have to see it. I can't remember.
Right here. No, I never closed it.
No, I don't remember being closed.
When Dave and Jason arrive in the third floor matron's quarters, they discovered that the door leading to the matron's bedroom is closed. This is strange because these doors are always left open for tourists and investigators to explore these rooms. The last person that was on this floor was Dave when he was sweeping the building collecting daytime establishing shots. In this shot, you can see that this door is clearly wide open. And after Dave walks back into the foyer of the matron's quarters, he feels a strange presence and ironically has a strange request for the spirits who reside up here.
Move a door.
Could this be a spirit finally fulfilling Dave's request, but didn't want to do it while one of us was present?
Whoa. Did you hear that? Open that door for us, please. Dude, I have cold chills so bad.
Are you in that room there? Who's up here with us?
Because the jail portion of the building is so large, Steve and I decided that it's best to split up, to cover more area. Steve will remain in the dungeon to try and communicate with those who lost their lives in this drunk tank, while I will head upstairs to the cell blocks to see if any inmates are willing to make communication.
All right. Apparently Ryan got out of the cell and he gets to go upstairs. Is anyone down here with me?
Are there any murderers up here?
Well, I'm not sure what era of time it is for you or what year it is. For me, it's 2017. What year is it for you?
I have to say it's pretty creepy up here. Just trying to see behind me here. I'm
I'm not trying to hurt you, I just want to know who you are.
I wonder where that was.
Right in here. Could you just do that again to confirm?
It appears as though the activity in our respective areas of the jail has subsided, so we know it's time to change our approach. But before we begin our solo missions, Jason and Dave wanted to walk through the cell blocks to see if anything will feel more comfortable communicating with them.
Dude. Oh my God. I swear I just saw somebody standing there when I came around this corner.
Down in the center?
Yeah.
Let me try this. Who's down in here with us? Did Dave just see you? Where are you? Just give us a sound. What happened?
Oh my God. Let's just keep going. There was somebody standing beside me.
Okay, let's just stand right here, actually, because it does seem a little tense. Who's in here with us? We mean you no harm. We're not afraid of you. You don't need to be afraid of us. Please speak to us. Come up to us. Let us see you. Let us hear you. Karl, are you down here with us? Did Dave just see you down here?
We are trying to find Karl, but if there's anybody else who would like to communicate. Please do so.
It appears whatever's haunting the old Licking County Jail is attracted to Dave and Jason. So for our solo missions tonight, they will pick a part of the jail and go there alone. Keeping their distance from one another, Dave will be going to the drunk tank to spend some time in the dungeon, while Jason will be by himself on the 4th floor cell block. This is where Mae Varner committed suicide by lighting herself on fire.
Jason here. I'm starting my solo on the 4th floor at Licking County Jail. This is the floor that the females and juveniles would have been contained in.
Hello, is there anybody down here with me? I'm down in this dungeon, as they call it. Basement. Drunk tank. Whatever you want to call it. And I'm looking to talk to somebody about what happened down here to somebody.
Mae Varner. My name is Jason. I mean you no harm. No harm at all. And no disrespect to you or anyone else here. But I would certainly like to be able to speak with you. I'd like to be able to hear you, see you. May, are you up here with me?
Again, my name is Dave. Is it odd to you that people spend their time trying to speak to those who have passed on?
I've got a device here in my left hand. It has a little light on it, and it won't harm you. But if you come up to this device I have in my left hand and you speak as loud and clearly as you can into it, be able to hear your voice. Are there any juveniles up here with me? Any young people? If so, how old are you?
Just after Jason asks, "How old are you?" the audio on both cameras picks up what sounds like a voice coming from the opposite end of this fourth floor cell block. Could this be the spirit of a juvenile inmate trying to answer him?
If so, how old are you?
Why is it that sometimes that we can see and hear you, and sometimes that we can't?
If you're in there, can you give me a sound? Can you tell me to get out of here? I believe I'm going to go ahead and conclude my visit here with you all, and I appreciate you for allowing me in, and I appreciate any messages that you may have left for us tonight.
From the very beginning of this investigation, the old Licking County Jail has been full of surprises.
Hey, guys, the red button off.
We found out that this building has a very violent history, some of which is yet to be discovered, and it has the paranormal activity to back that up.
I swear I just saw somebody standing there when I came around this corner.
Down in the center?
Yeah.
The old Licking County Jail is a location that we won't forget anytime soon.
Let
God.